Hey everyone, Alex from alexc.com again. Now, today I'm going to talk about whether branding as an expenses or an investment. Now, I'm going to go through a couple of things, and the first one is well, if you look at the P&L, like the profit and loss of a business. Now, generally, if you look at uh, starting point of the business and a long term thinking, a lot of people would take the whole branding is actually an expenses, and because for a small medium enterprise, when they first started coming out with their own brand and products, they will look at that as a somewhere they can spend as little as possible. Now the problem with if you spend as little as possible, you are actually looking for something that um, you're gonna put on your products that later on you might turn that into a regret. So what I means by that, like if you pay peanuts to someone, you will pretty much like get peanuts, so most likely because if you pay someone who is cheap, um, you most likely have someone who had no idea what it is about branding and system and strategy. Now, if you look at long term, you will generally go for the professionals who had experience in developing something, and long term they become the assets of the business. Now, again, when it comes to business, it has to be a long term thinking when it comes to um, building an assets within the business. So yeah, so like if a business started with um from zero, like no distribution, no sales, um no no basically like nothing to measure, um yes, you that might be one of the expenses that you might have to be careful that you do not put in too much capital into it for a start. Now, but if you are a business that is grow kind of able to identify the growth where there is, then yeah, by all means, I think that is part of the investment that you can look at it, that you can add into the product as part of the assets building. Now the reason with the branding is actually to kind of uh, develop it as an asset into the market so that it delivers a persistent and with consistency to differentiate itself in the market when you acquire new customers. Now, any business will need acquisition. Otherwise, there's no point um, doing what you're doing, because if you don't acquire new customers all the time, there's no growth. So now the branding assists you to do that along the way. So now that's kind of a short term versus long term thinking, right? So now the short term thinking is kind of like, oh, I wanted to make quick money, and then once you got the money, then that money can like spend on different things, like probably some business owners spend on themselves rather than reinvest into the business and to start growing in that sense. Now the long term thinking is kind of like reinvest what you have achieved in sales and market that you acquire, and reinvest into the brand strategy, and to grow the assets within the acquisition of the market. So long-term thinking, you kind of like develop something that is um, like is within the business, the assets of the business, and it will help the other portion of the business to be running in a sort of a strong point. So the branding strategy, if it I mean, again, if the branding strategy wasn't done right, it might derail you as well. So it's really important to get the right people, and people who understand the market alongside your experience as well, to really grow on that market acquisition, and that will please the community who purchases all your product or use your products and keep coming back and buy your products. Now, another thing is the branding strategy. The idea of the branding strategy is to give a clarity of in business, like let's say if a brand in the branding strategy, if you lay out the values and the things that you do and you don't do, and also your mission, and kind of it sets you in guidelines that things that you shouldn't go for it and things you should, and keep focusing on it. So branding strategy also helps you to put your position on identify opportunities and strategy. Now, opportunity, what I mean by that is a lot of business will look for opportunities. Sometimes to a point, they might, let's say, in the peanut butter business, like some people would think, oh yeah, well, by taking off certain ingredients and adding certain ingredients to cut down the cost so the margin is high, that is an opportunity, and that's a profit in short term. But then long term, it kind of like really affect in terms of the consumer's confidence in your brand when it comes to the quality of your products. But however, the strategy, long-term strategy, you will abide to your rules and principle that you promise, and that you follow it, and that is the quality of the ingredients. So if you stick to that in the long-term run, although your profit is not a lot, but in long term your market acquisition is really consistent. Now long term, this is gonna be very stable. So it's not easy, but that's the difference between opportunity and strategy. Now that is actually an idea on top of what branding is. Apart from, I didn't elaborate on the look and feel of your brand identity today, so I'm just talking about in general of the concept between short term and long term. So again, it's so this will give you a bit of clarity in terms of whether branding is an expenses or an investment. Now I hope you learned something out of this, and I hope you share it to your friend if you know anyone who need to learn about this few key points about like whether branding is expenses or a long-term strategy. If you like my videos, please subscribe, and I will add more videos in the future to help you out. And feel free to share it to a friend again, and will be much appreciated. So guys, have a good week. I'll talk to you soon, and I'll see you. Have a good one.